Miro board from our exercises.
Oh, here it is.
And we'll walk through that.
Don't go down there. Don't go down there, Alex.
Okay. Alrighty, so let's find out where we have our to-do list. I think if I just use this search feature, I gotta wait for Miro to load up. Yeah, as I said, this is quite a big Miro board by now. That off to the side, that'll be good. Zoom's fine, get rid of that. Okay, so get rid of that note. Let's take a look at to do. Ah, there we go. So yeah, at least we can search for things on a large board pretty quickly. How to manual error where the command fails. Question. Okay, well, we'll get to those questions later. Okay, some people have been answering this. Never, name is too long, command failed. Okay, well, we'll save these notes from what people wanted to do here. Oh, actually, this is really helpful. Okay, so we have the happy path up here, so that's pretty cool. Wonder who did this. So zoom in so everyone can see this. So yeah, they're really nice for people to answer questions. So this is what I've done here. Buy bread not done. Now, that's interesting. We don't really need this as input to this. So I'm going to make a copy of what I started and continue on with that and leave this here for the next meetup to talk about why we do and don't do certain things. Let me grab all this. We'll copy it. And now I'll just move it up here somewhere. And this is where we're going to start our coding. I wanted to do a couple of interesting things in this coding session. One of them is to not actually have a back end and to look at the single page app with just the cookies, and not cookies, but the other storage that's available for not just storing key value entries, but there's also a database that's per page that you can use. So I'm going to explore that because I'm wondering if the synchronization options in Firefox and Chrome just sync cookies, or do they actually sync some of the heavier things that we can do on that? My guess is that it's only cookies, but I'm hoping that at least one of the other more mature, larger storage mechanisms that integrate with the operating system also are copied. So we'll do a bit of research there to see if that happens. Because ideally I don't want any back-end trips. I want to consider the computer that's displaying the web page to be the storage mechanism. And if we have synchronization happening across your browsers, then you don't have to worry about being able to connect to a specific server other than Firefox's servers to synchronize. And then if you actually know where those files are stored, you could probably just do a quick copy from one to another, or use Nextcloud or something else to synchronize across your devices, and your to-do list is going to work as if you have a server working for you. So Yeah, what happens when we start with this to-do list? Well, we start typing buy bread. First of all, let me clean up some of the stuff that got added here. We don't actually, I don't think we actually did this here. Why can't I click on here? There we go. It's still pretty slow. Finish task, buy bread. So the other thing that we're doing here is we're not using any IDs yet, because we can just, in this simple to-do list, really the text itself can be used as the ID, and we're not going to overcomplicate things. And this is a quite important, because we don't want any complications, especially when you're introducing programming, let alone event sourcing or anything else, to start to think about databases and keys and all sorts of stuff. You want to show people that they can get going and get working software that's still sound in terms of how they manage state, even if they don't have some of those concepts we take for granted. So again, in an event model, we start here. It's empty. Nothing has happened yet. We move along and we start to add things to our to-do list. The next thing that we do is we buy bread and hit the add new button, and that changes the state of the application. In event sourcing, we put this down here as an event stored somewhere. Again, we'll be using the back end for web browsers. That's stored locally. That'll do the same thing. And then, of course, the next step that you see after you hit the button, the user expects to see the to-do item to be brought up here, and then they actually go and do that, and they go buy bread. They're at the store. We sometimes put helper events here as to show what's going on with the actual user. Very human events are put up here. And yeah, once they're in the store and they buy the bread, they hit this button right here, which is basically an ability to highlight something in your list. Hit a button, and then of course it goes over here. We can of course play around with this and do some drag and drop kind of interfaces later, but it'll be nice to see that that should be independent of how we have stored the state, and we can do all sorts of fun things to improve the UX and the UI, relying on stuff that we already wrote. So that should be fun. Let's see, it's 2 o'clock, just after 2 o'clock. I'm going to continue on with this until around 4. There's a bit of a setup with OBS and all of these things, all fun and games, but now that's over and done with, and hopefully next time I'll be able to set it up much quicker and just start the stream when we're ready to go ahead and get into the code. So anyone watching, thank you for surviving this long looking at me set up the stream. Maybe it gave you some hope that even if I can set it up, you could probably do the same. So thank you, and I'm wondering if there's I just don't want to miss any comments if people are chatting on stream, and I'm going to try and keep an eye out on Twitter if anyone actually has messaged me. Or they're just reacting to my funny joke, so that's fine. I will I'll try to use the phone for screens that have private information, so I don't have to keep switching to my camera mode if I'm going to do that. Just going to turn that off. I've just too many things open. You can shrink that. Put that here. OBS we can have here. And alright, so we'll make a new, or can we open some of this? Yeah, let's open. Yeah, let's make a new one. Let's make a new project. Call it to-do list. And we want an empty project. We're just going to start off with plain HTML. I'll try to make this screen size a little bit bigger for you. Where to put my ugly face so you can see what I'm doing. Maybe I'll have the code on this side, and then I'll put my browser in here. Oops, yeah, that's the browser. Snap in there, perfect. Our event model here. And our lower right should be kind of reserved for my face and anything else. That'll be a little command area. So, okay, so the nice thing about an event model is like we kind of see exactly what we want to have happen. And we always have this idea that we can divide all of these tasks kind of into these vertical slices so that we'll be happy when we have this little HTML page looking sort of like this. I'm not going to bother with too much. If I can't get the flex boxes and whatever else to make things line up horizontally and be reactive and all of those things, then who cares? We'll save those for other opportunities. So yeah, you can just take this timeline and slice it up like that. Let me just get rid of the arrow end on this. Oops. That's too bad. That's up there. There we go. So we want this just to be thicker so you can notice it. We don't want any end to this arrow. Just want this to be red. Let's make it a little bit thicker. Alright, so we can start and see that each slice is kind of done with by subdividing our workflow like this. Oh, sorry, let me just see if I can alert to other people that are watching here. So, where did I tweet that? Profile. Okay, here's the stream. I guess if people see my Twitter profile, I do have a YouTube link on the actual account info, so but in case they don't know, I'm tweeting that anyway. So that'll be fun. Yeah, a lot of struggles to get through in the first half hour, but I think we're good now. So again, let's divide up our event model into tasks that we can tackle one by one. This is a small enough application that we can probably get it all going in one sitting, and just show that we can have this cadence, which allows us to progress at our own pace as we take care of each of these vertical slices. That's how we slice up our workflow, and rest assured that we're doing good work because we have a nice contract with what we're expecting in the system before we start a slice, and then we also have a nice contract in terms of how that information is going to be used for further slices down the road, right? So again, to make sure people remember this by the slice approach, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 slices. I think the first one has really no functionality, so it'll be very cheap. We're just working on the UI. Then the second slice is really taking care of storing some information in the system, which we'll try to do with the backend cookies, the backend database for web pages, etc. And then the next slice is going to be looking at the information in the system. So here, if people are familiar with some of the event sourcing and CQRS things, we'll see that we can have this as a calculated just a calculation, not a materialized view, although we can continue and elaborate from this exercise to actually have some structure to what we're storing and have these as materialized views for performance. So we'll continue with that. And then of course more of the same. Now we're just changing the state of some of the entities, such as the task of buying bread. Let me just zoom in. I know this is very tiny writing, but yeah, we'll look at that. And yeah, and so that'll be state change, and then of course again addressing through that little read model, which at first will be calculated on the fly. We'll show how that shows up here. And so hopefully this will only be JavaScript. I haven't done a lot of front-end JavaScript, so we can struggle together if you want to join me on on Zoom, let me know. I have a session going, and you can do that. So let's see. Just gonna double check that I have things open so I can get feedback from people. Okay. And let's get our IDE going here. So we're not doing anything with this website right now. We want an empty project, like we said. We'll call it to-do list HTML only. That should be a fun thing. Project format. Oh, I haven't tried this IPR file-based. Well, let's try IPR. I haven't tried that before. Cool. I hope it's okay. Let's get rid of that one, sure. Alright, and so in the project, we don't have any modules, that's fine. The project is here, IPR, whatever that is. We'll create something new in here. New file. Oh, structure. Sorry. Run the structure project. Maybe I should have taken the other one. New. Everywhere. So we have. Oh, where's my file new? Maybe I will do it the other way. Project. Next. That's fine. Okay. LSDK. Nope. Should be okay.
Split the second letter down.
Oops, I don't want to do that. File. I'm wondering why it's just giving me a scratch file. That's interesting. That's very odd. I don't want it to be scratches. I want it to be up here. I don't want that. That's very odd. Yeah, it's odd these days. It's hard to just open up a simple file. Everything wants to be a project. So let's just try again with a new file format. Cancel. I guess we have to do something like JavaScript, HTML boilerplate. Fine, we'll do that and then just delete all the extra stuff it gives us. So I guess it wants to hook up everything for debugging JavaScript, etc. So let's just do to-do to-do list HTML Just say low tech. That's a good name. Alright, I'll do that. Finish. Now it'll give me a proper structure, which I don't really want. As you can see, it gives me a ton of stuff here. Quite a few. I really don't want all this. I'm just going to delete everything except the index HTML, which then I will also prune.
Get Alex first. He's barely in.
Yeah, and delete the site manifest. I don't want any of those things. Oh, is that what happens? Site manifest gets rid of too many things.
Stick it.
Where is the
Where's me now?
index? Okay, you want to be quiet. My son's yelling at his friends. Okay. That's good. So we have this. And then we can get rid of all of the extra stuff that we don't want. So title will be, I guess it'll be my to-do list.
I'm going on a particle. Can someone come with me?
Okay, for some reason it doesn't belong
I'm
to
going
anything. My to-do list. And then we get rid of all this other stuff, which I don't really want. This meta stuff. Get rid of the theme. Don't want any style sheets right now. We'll start to prettify some of those things here. We can go to header. My to-do list. That's basically what I'm doing, is just following what I see on the right hand side. Certainly don't want the Google Analytics in here. Get rid of that. And so, oops, that should be H1. Okay, there we go. So my to-do list is here, and I guess I can see if this stuff works for live editing. I'm not sure if I have live editing enabled. Let's just test that. Nope. I don't have this as I have to hit that to refresh. Anyway, I'll take care of that config later to do that. But anyway, at least we have something that we can look at here in the bottom corner as our output. And we can start to make some divs. And I know Hattie from JetBrains is probably just really irritated by looking at me dealing with that setup. Haven't been keeping up on the improvements to the project structure, and it shows. So now we just want a div, and in that div we want another div times 2, I believe is what you do, times 2, and then we want, okay, so that's fine. That's great. And then here we want another div. I think we might want something to surround those. But anyway, let's play around with just those two up here. And I think we can have this as being the first column. And I forget what you put in here for that stuff. Let's just quickly Google columns, HTML5 div, and I don't want W3C schools. I want Mozilla stuff. Why is Mozilla stuff not coming up? And I certainly don't want Stack Overflow. That's odd. Usually Mozilla documentation comes up, but that's fine. Yeah, just row and column. Okay, great. So let's start off with that. Sorry, what was it? Yeah, class row. I guess these are built-in classes. So that should be good. Does that work? Nope. I have to hit that key again, I think, here. I don't see anything in it, so I'll just put some data in there. Okay, where's the data? Alrighty. Down here. And let's hit that refresh here. Yep, that looks, doesn't look good. I still not getting columns, which is odd. No, I just need the, that's what I forgot. Stupid float. Float flex. I hear flex is better than float, so let's just try that.
Oh, he's AFK, that's right.
The style. Did that work? Yep, there we go. We got our two columns. Wonderful. We need lines around them, so now we just need another box in here. There's the div with a border. We'll call it class equals, this will be a list in this case. And so will this other one. Come on. Okay, so we have that, and here we want this to be our heading. And to do in here, and in here we want, oops, to do, and the other one we want done. One too many. Okay, save that. Does that look okay? To do. Oh, I want this to be done. That's great. And then we want on the second one, we want something. Let's get rid of that hello down here. On this first one, we want to add a button, actually text entry. Just put a wrapper around it and then do an input. Type text, and then give it an ID. New. I guess that, in order for that to work, that might need a form around it, but for now we'll just leave it as this, see if it works like this. New. Let's see. New item. New item. And what's it complaining about here? Probably wants a form around it or something else. Missing associated label. Sure. So an alt enter. That's fine. See if that made it look any different. That put it beside it, so We have columns, but these things are flowing the wrong way. So the other thing we need to do is, I guess we're looking at this flex row column, force rows, CSS flex force rows, CSS tricks. That's not good. Okay, well, here we go. Mozilla, that's what I was looking for. Great. It looks like a collapse items. Nope. I really want things to be one per row. Okay, let's try that for a Google search. Okay. Apparently it's in here too. I really don't want to go to Stack Overflow if I can help it. One more 10. And I'd rather not have it done based on dimensions or percentages. I just want to make sure that it's one below the other. Don't want gutters. I don't want to read about how that works. Yeah, that's a lot more. That's flex wrap. Flex row wrap. Oh, interesting. Okay. So maybe we can have these as a class of items. Give it a name. Class 1 per. One per row. And make sure that all of them have that.
Oh, great. Lost connection, please.
There it is, one per row, and there it said flex flow row wrap. Let's see what that syntax is. Flex wrap. That's wrap. Maybe that is the. I don't want it to wrap. I want it to force.
Oh. You just need to switch it to
Reverse.
the top.
Flex 1-1. What does that mean? That might be the dimensions. This is not what I'm looking for, I guess. Flex direction, property, no wrap. Or wrap. 10 items, all the flexible. Okay. Nope. Okay, I don't want to get stuck in the CSS. This is a rabbit hole. Display flex. Column 50%. Oh, maybe that's what we do. Flex, we do 100% of whatever we are. Will that do it? Let's see. I think I need to add that to the others. And this one here as well. One per row. row, and then that one doesn't have this problem yet. Actually, it does. It's not. Nope. It's not doing it. So 1 per row is not doing it with flex 100%. I wonder what we get for flex colon content fit content. Max content. Ooh, yuck. Okay, that's not it. Just have to do limit items per row flex. Per item flex CSS. See what that comes up with. Oops, this is Stack Overflow. This is not good. Yeah, that's not what I want. And I'm not sure if the 100% actually works inside that we had. Well, anyway, it looks ugly, but we'll figure it out later. Flex display flex 100%, or is it 50%? Maybe that's what the problem is.
That's not too
Okay, now let's continue. So as long as we had a button and it works and we get into the interesting parts of actually storing things behind the scenes, we'll do that. So next one is the button. That's going to be here. Div input type button. I'll call it add item. Okay, it looks really ugly. Oops. Why is it not showing that? It doesn't belong in there. Is it text? I think you have to do both for a form if we're going to do a form.
Look, Gallo.
And here we have about access. Is it content? No, content.
Oh, it's probably not called a span.
Nope, not content. What is it? Text. Style about.
Really?
I even forgot how to do this. This is usually done for me. Yeah, so that's what it was. Oh, just button. Item but type. should get us to something that'll work. Perfect, great. So I have a button. I'll work on the other project. I already have all the CSS set up. I guess I could have copied it, but anyway, I wanted to do something without any extra CSS leverage. So
awesome.
all right. So let's add some event handlers to the button. ID. Fine. And add some script here. Okay. And the thing that I wanted to show was that storage. So single page application is client side storage options. IndexeDB, right. Yeah, I want to see if IndexeDB actually gets synced across browsers. Synced via Firefox. So let's see if that actually does that. Nope, probably doesn't answer that question. So what gets synced across with Firefox Sync? All right. Preferences. Choose what to sync. Open tabs. I don't think it does. So I guess there's going to be. Gonna have to look at where IndexeDB gets stored. IndexeddB, that's what I have. IndexeddB sync via Firefox. It probably wouldn't be. That might get too large. So we're gonna just have to actually see where that is stored. IndexeddB stored with stored in storage in Firefox storage location. Might actually be encrypted or something. Let's just see where that is. Interesting. Okay, so we have a place where this will be, so we could probably add a little utility that'll allow us to synchronize our to-do list across different devices. And yeah, let's see if we can do that. So it's got a neat API to be able to write things to it, and so when we're doing this type of application, we'll have an index to the start of some sort of a linked list of all these events, and then start coding, adding things to that indexeddb. So let's look at indexeddb example and start writing it. All right. Window open. Oh, interesting. You can even name your database, so we can actually investigate, see how that indexeddb actually looks. Why do we have an error here? What's it complaining about? No, div is not closed. Control Shift Enter should close them. Really? Where's my other div? Var request equals window dot indexeddb open. We'll do events. What is the 3? What is this thing?
Megaton.
In case you want to test your code in browsers that still use a prefix. Oh boy, so this might be depending on what's supported. Using an experimental version of indexeddb. Nope. We don't want any new fancy stuff, just stuff that works. We start the whole process with this. Okay, I don't understand what 3 is. What is 3? Is this like one of these types? Well, it's apparently a magic number. So call this database this and call it a 3. Whatever that does. Generating handlers, do something with error success. Do we want ugly alerts right now? We'll just skip this and see if it works. Okay, this one doesn't have that extra parameter of (3), so we'll get rid of it. I guess this one's better, more current syntax. Let's not deviate. Maybe it's premature here. Wonderful. Creating updating database. Oh, okay, so there's version numbers of the database. Well, that's cool.
Megatons.
Okay, so we have key generators. Interesting. Adding, retrieving, removing data. Okay, very cool. Okay, so this little storage, we don't need anything fancy for storing events. It's just additive only, so we're not going to add or use any of this stuff. Well, not most of it anyway. We're just going to have a couple of objects that are going to be indexes to the latest event, and then we're just going to walk the current events to do that. And as we get to these read models, we'll notice that our application starts to slow down with a lot of different actions, especially once we add archiving or deleting items into our set of requirements. the log will start to get larger and larger. So we're going to have to make these green boxes materialized, and so those also can just be objects in the same database. And that's that. And so these are going to be the updated entries in the database. So things like current values of indexes or references on as to how many events there are, and other things we'll basically have here. So that's what'll happen. Let's just double check that no one's waiting for us if they wanted to join. Nope.
Well, yeah, that's the whole point of X.
Manage requests. No. Okay. Good. No one's there.
A lot, so that it goes successful.
Alright. And we even have cursors, which is pretty cool. That's going to be very useful for what we have in basically getting walking the events, which is what we're going to do when we have to regenerate a view. Interesting. Then we have indexes that we can use. Ranges and directions of that. So it's quite interesting. Maybe there'll be an opportunity to create a little add-in for Firefox and Chrome to synchronize this, and I'm sure this is how a lot of applications already work. They might already use this as a storage mechanism, and then synchronize some other way through some sort of a routing service to have each of your instances wherever you have your web page open to have some of that functionality. Anyway, exciting stuff. I don't think we're going to get through much more in the next hour, but I'm probably going to go offline and play around a little bit more with this, and then come back tomorrow to look at something more usable, and maybe just start to use some of the CSS so it looks a little bit more usable than what we have up here, because I think I have a very small little library that I used, or a small CSS sheet that I used that would allow the columns to be done more easily. I'm not in any way a front-end developer, so it's something I'm just gonna steal from the other project. So let's see. Where's that little sample? They had a little sample application here somewhere at the bottom, below the cursors. I was reading a little bit of this yesterday. This is all just indexes, cursors, version changes while the web app is open in another tab. Oh yeah, this is the kind of stuff that's interesting. Huh, very cool. So, unblocked, so Moz indexeddb. So this is for Firefox. I guess we'll keep it in Firefox, and we'll get other people to try and do Chrome equivalent. Oh, there it is. Full indexeddb example. Very cool. Storing blobs. Nation. Okay, let's get to the code. CSS. JavaScript. Here we go. Alright, so let's work from OpenDB. Where do we actually link things up? New frame, view server. Function. Okay, at the bottom is probably where we link it up. Okay, so it just invokes the whole function at the beginning. Yeah, so let's do that. And where are we still not closed with oh, I guess here we might control shift. There we go. Okay, so control shift enter just closes up any unclosed tags that you have as long as you're in the right place where it's complaining. Now it's done that for us, so that's done. And then let's just do this bit by bit so we explore how this works. Get that done, and just a function to make sure we're got our hello world done and everything works. And then we can invoke this function, I believe. There we go. Right, so console log works. And if we save that, should be fine. Did that not work? Oh, right. Control Shift C to see that console layout. No, where is it? Styles, body. No, here's console. Come on. There we go. Yeah, so it's got works. Console. Refresh works. Yeah. All right, great. So we have that. Now we can start to play around with more things. So this is really tiny to see. I don't know if we can increase the font. There we go. Okay, that's better. So maybe this should start flowing to the next little row. Ah, man, the CSS is horrible. So maybe if I just add column width to be something like 100 px, that might help us.
There you go.
Ah, yuck. Okay. Not yet working. Anyway, maybe I should just dump that CSS from the other one, just to make this a little bit less painful.
Yeah, you automatically do it.
Writer, it should still have those other CSS things in here for us. Probably have too many things running. I have Among Us running in case someone wants to play, but come on. So time tracking has our CSS goodness, which we'll just copy.
Yeah.
We got stick here. That's our time tracking application that we're working on in the meetup. And looks like I don't have my full theme working yet with this upgraded version of Rider. Okay. Where is our layout? Ah, here it is. So layout, we have our HTML and CSS in here. So log time, we'll have these links here just so you can see what they are. I'll zoom in a bit. Yeah, so we have this block tile. These tile classes and blocks and box and container are quite useful. So we have font awesome, and we also have this Cloudflare Bulma, it's called. So we'll get that style sheet going so we can actually see something decent. Here we go. We'll add that in here. And now we can have a container surround. So Control T. I think that opens up my Control T will open up my terminal. I have to try and get rid of the interception of some of these shortcuts by the operating system at some point. Haven't done that. Surround with tag div. I believe it was a container that we had. Yeah, container is the top one. Container. I think that'll work. Why is this underlined? Yeah, starting to look a little bit better. And then what else do we have? So container, box, and then we have block. Tile is parent, is child, is child. Okay, so tiles, as long as they're child, should work. Then we'll have them side by side. So we have, instead of classes row, or we can look at tile is parent, and this should be tile is child, and the other one should be the same. Can get rid of the other classes. I think it should work. Nope. I think it also needs a box. Oh, great. Have that problem again. See if I can just use the activation code. It must be somewhere in here still. Oh. Okay, that's another thing I gotta do. Every time I yeah, every time I selected stuff, keep forgetting to do this. No, it's here. Interesting. Damn it. Okay. I don't think my whatever. Yeah, just get rid of it. Okay. That's fine. Add does nothing yet, but we'll fix that soon. So Firefox 16, Google Chrome, you to Google Chrome carry, no support. Okay, this looks like compatible environments. Database version. Don't use a float. Interesting. Okay, so quite a bit of setup just to get this going. OpenDB. I just want to inline all this. I really don't want it to be a function. DB store name. That's interesting. Read write. Store clear, storage cleared. Okay, I don't want to clear anything, I just want to start storing things under specific keys. So we should be able to do that. Wow, that's pretty interesting. Does this actually display something? Let's see if it does have that HTML for compat. It probably does have that.
I'm a ladder.
I see in their example they didn't bother with any CSS garbage and just made a table. Sometimes that's the easiest. Tells you something about divs and flexboxes and all the new HTML stuff if Mozilla's actual documentation is still using tables. So that's interesting. Where is the, do we actually have that somewhere here? Ah, yes, there is. So it has this little compat thing, so we don't actually need that. That's just a little environment display, which we don't really need. We do have this. Just paste those in. So our DB name will be to do storage. Let's make this a little bigger so people can see. Okay, that's fine. DB storage. Current. Okay. So now we can just open the database, forget the rest of the stuff. Oops, wrong place. It's better. And then what do we have in here? This should have all of the really cool stuff. Unblocked, on error, really good. And event listeners. Ah, cool. So this is all the stuff that it shows us, and we can use to store our events as we click on buttons. On error, on upgrade needed. I don't care about that right now. On success, we don't care about that. That's the open database. Okay. All right, so let's see if we can actually store a key and a value in here. So I don't want to worry about the upgrades. Get object store name. Okay, so transaction is what we're looking for. Transaction. And here we want the store name. So did we have a store name here? I guess that's when it gets used. This is where you could say like events or something. DB store name, or maybe that's what it is. So publications, we'll just do events for now. Okay. It seems quite a little bit of code in here to see if we're... this is using cursors though to actually get stuff. I don't think we need that. kind of don't want to bother with that. We get to the transaction thing, so we should be able to just ask for things and add some data. There we go. So that's how we do it. Customers read write. So the transaction we want is to insert an event. So we'll do that. Events. Read write. Oops, that's not string. Read write. And of course we want this to be a variable. That's fine. And then whoa, that's not what we wanted. Control Shift V, isn't that? Oh no, that's pasting. Control Alt V is variable. Should be anyway. Introduce variable. Control Alt V. Shift Alt V. Okay. Should be able to just do it at the end of the line. Yeah, there we go. Transaction. Good. So now with transaction, adding to the database, transaction incomplete, all done. And then we have an object store, customers. Interesting. So great, okay, so now we can just do events. And this will show us how to do that. Adding to the database, forget about that, incomplete on error, and then transaction. So we got object store, there's a transaction object store. Okay, I really just want to chain it together, but object store. And here we have events. And sorry, let's just use this as, so we have db store name as events, and then we also have this objects. I think it's can store lots of things, but we'll just call both events. db. Oops. That's it. Okay, and here we have events. And from that we can add, and what can we add? Customer. What is customer? Function customer. I guess that's any kind of event, so maybe we can just inline it. Name, test. Can we just put JSON in here? Joe. Okay, so that's done. Now we can do transaction dot what's the other one? To get stuff. Getting data from the database. Get and on success. Perfect. So object store. We'll probably just introduce, since we're going to be using this bit here, Control Alt V to make sure that that's object store. Sounds good. Object store dot get, And this will be an object of Joe, so that's fine. Hopefully this works. Shouldn't see any errors. Got name. Okay, let's see. Okay, I don't want to use a cursor. Using an index. Index name. Oh, this is better. Could probably use that. Right, so we could uniquely identify each, get our sort of quote-unquote global ordering, identify each event as an index offset of 1, 2, 3, etc. And just walk through them like that, but that might not be performant. Function, okay, log. Let's see. Now, we really don't care about all these safety checks. We want to have the integrity of the objects that are stored in here to dictate what we have, what we can access. So, much like I've been saying this for a while, just like the Git, just like the Git internals work in the Git folder of all the files pointing to things that actually are guaranteed to exist. We're going to have the same strategy here for making sure that we only have problems of dangling objects and not integrity. And if there is a corruption, it's pretty big, and then we rely on a backup. But for regular operation, we're not going to really rely on a lot of the stuff. We're just going to make sure that the entire thing is pretty well set up for being having integrity built into the format of the data, the conventions we take. So let's go here. We don't want to use this cursor. Let's just see whether this. So updating request on error on success object. Put data. Okay, so I'm wondering if put will also work in case something didn't exist. I guess we can try it out. But is this? I'm wondering how this is indexed. So let's see, getting data from the database. We're getting a string. So I'm guessing name would be it. I'm guessing these work on name pairs like this. Object store delete 444. Add customer. Okay, so they don't have a. They just have a. Customer object, which I'm not sure how that is structured, but when they get the data, they have an actual phone number or some other social insurance number or something. Yeah, so maybe it's in their example. I want to see the structure of the customer, just to show how, just to see how they're using this. Selected file. Nope, that's not what we want. JavaScript content. That's display list. I don't want that. Frame. Add publication from URL. Nope, that's not it. Add publication. Oh, this is a different. Yeah, so biblio ID, biblio title. Okay. So it's adding objects like that. Interesting. I'm wondering what it's using for the keys. I'm guessing it's just strings. So if I get name, I should get Joe. So console. Console.log. Name. Selector not used. What's it complaining about here? Download library. Okay, that's fine. Let's do that. Okay.
No, he just cloned himself.
Oh, we're starting to see some of the things I added working. Transaction is not a function. Oh, right. Let's go back up to how we use it here. Our transaction. Transaction is object store. I don't think that's what it is. Request open, and then object store is the transaction. What do you call this object store? And this is supposed to be DB. So this is a database. And yeah, we're missing a step here. So then we have our var object store, which will equal our database dot object store. What? Why is that not giving us what we want? DB name, DB version, DB transaction. Oh, wait a second. No, that was right. Okay. Indexeddb open. Right, DB version 1. That's fine. And now we go to this part here. Now we get the transaction, which is db.transaction. We reuse that because that read write. Okay, and after that we go to alrighty. Why is this a problem here? All right. Okay. Let's see here. So now you got an object store events. Okay, that's really weird. Where do we add stuff? Okay, so there's a weird for each customer. We have to add. Oh, I see, customer data. So basically we're just calling this on each one. So request add customer. Damn it. Good old JavaScript backwards thinking here. So object store is oops, we don't want to erase that. Let's just take a look at what our error was again. So it's not a function. Transaction is not a function. I'm not treating it as a function, am I? Transaction is DB transaction. That's bizarre. Okay, that's exactly what I have here. db.transaction with these things, and it's telling me it's not. It's not that. So it's not getting here. Can't get it here. Save that. Go in here. Yeah, it's not getting there. I'm wondering why. Is this because it's version 3? It's not. What do we have here? Nope. Still not. Interesting. Look at the DB store name and what we do with it, which is read write. So transaction is a function here, but for some reason we don't have it as a function. Index 29. Let's see what IntelliSense gets us here. So db.transaction ibtl transact. Oh, that's very odd. Indexed db dot open. It's a request. Okay, so that's right, that is a request. So okay, their documentation is kind of weird. Request, that's fine. So then request gives us what? We have results on error. Huh. You have unblocked on all of this other stuff, prototype, and then the transaction item. We can get the object store for what we wanted, which is events. Okay, that's fine. So that.
It's fun. Oh no.
What does that have? Index names, right? So let's just look at what that is.
We actually ran with goats before. We got like 7 kills.
No property of object store, no. Oh, so it did get through to this, but what did it say? So it did work this time. Okay, that's odd documentation. Oh, then that's save. We have to save it first, I guess, and now run it again. It's a null. So transaction is a null. What do we need to do with that request? Let's go back to the docs. So I guess on complete we have to do something. No, we don't have to. Object store add transaction object store. So db.transaction that didn't work. So we got that request. Oh, that's upgrade. Oh, here's the customer data. Okay, so it's just yeah, like I thought, it was just a bunch of these arrays. Maybe I need to store. Well, we're not even there yet. That's interesting. Now we're using 2 for a database version. So I keep switching between 1, 2, and 3 in the documentation. Read right. Okay. Well, anyway, we're kind of out of time for today. We got into talking about how we're going to store the events, and hopefully by tomorrow we'll have it all figured out and we'll get into doing